Letting the work speak for itself is no longer enough to stay ahead of the competition. Now, why is that? If you run a graphic design agency or any kind of agency, if you run a branding agency, a done for you agency, a done with you agency, any kind of service where you essentially solve creativity, then this video is for you. So today I want to talk about the reason why the legacy model of an agency, which was you basically come online once a month to post your latest, here's new work, here's the new project case study. And then that goes on your website, along with like a couple of low depth of field, photos of you sticking post-it notes on the wall and really, zooming in on logos, pointing at stuff, all that kind of shit, which we've all done. I've been in that. I'm sure you've done it too. The problem is with that is it's a one-time thing. And I do think it's not that doing a case study is bad. Case studies are great, but doing it once a month or once every couple of months, and you can go completely cold after that. Now that works for maybe the big agencies, right? But it doesn't really work for the small ones or the nimble agencies or the one man, the solopreneur, where we are actually at. If you're, on the internet today trying to make some internet money, it's a different game. Now, previously, what you'd have is you just go on someone's website. So if you go on a design agency's website, and then you click about or our process or what we do, and it would be a 250 word skim or a couple of bullet points talking about what we do as an agency. That ship has sailed, I think. Now, if you look at a good indicator, is if you look at influencers. So look at Diary of a CEO, look at Chris Williamson on Modern Wisdom, look at even Ali Abdaal, look at some of the Alex Hormozis in the space, the Chris Does, all the people that are, they have an audience and they have the data. So they know a lot more than I do about what's happening. But the reason why they're showing behind the scenes, the reason why they're showing, what's going on, a day in the life kind of stuff. Remember that stuff on TikTok and YouTube and stuff? A day in the life of a coder, a day in the life of a developer, a day in the life of a Twitter employee kind of thing. Essentially now, people want to see how the sausage is made. There's a couple of reasons why process is really important. And I think the first one, looking at where we are in the world, where we are in any market is at the moment, is that we are at saturation. Not that there's saturation, meaning there's no work, but there are a lot of people claiming to do a lot of things. And like with economies of scale, if there was 100 people in a room and 10 of them were bullshitters and one of them was a complete liar, then that means that add a zero to that. If there's 1,000 people in the room, then 100 people are bullshitters and 10 of them are complete liars. Now, add 6 zeros onto that. We're on the internet here. So there's a lot of people that are saying they can do some stuff, which they probably can't. People want to see process, and they probably want to find out that you're not a charlatan or a snake oil salesman, and seeing how the sausage is made. Like the reason why I'm doing these videos is because I've worked in branding for 15 years, commercial branding, at scale. And I've done my fair share of logos, my fair share of guidelines, my fair share of campaigns and rollout and stuff. And, most of that, the camera wasn't on, but it doesn't mean it didn't happen. And yeah, fine. You used to be able to get away with a resume. Now people want to see you document the process a little bit. And the same is said for agencies. The same is said for solopreneurs, solo creators. So I think that is kind of the first reason why letting the work speak for itself is no longer enough to stay ahead of the competition. The second one is that, people work with people. And so let's use, in the P theme, so let's use Pentagram, right? So Pentagram is possibly the biggest, most well-known graphic design agency on the planet, right? Maybe the partners Design Bridge, but I'd probably say Pentagram, just because at scale and what they've done. And they have this, they've got the clout, they've got kind of the celebrity, Matt Willey, they've got Portishead, they've got a couple other people in there, like big heavy hitters and top-notch designers. Like there's no way around it. They're great at what they do. So I believe to be part of the partners. So if you want to be a partner of the partners, you have to essentially bring work with you or go out and get work. So although the partners, which is a massive agency, might post once a month, maybe they might do the once a month new work and the audit. What's actually happening boots on the ground behind the scenes is that, let's say, probably maybe not Paul Share anymore, but Paul Share is going for dinner with people and being like, hey, we think we could do this. We think we could do that. The reason why that story of her being at dinner and with Citibank and saying, oh, this is your logo, and scribbling it on a piece of paper. Let's zoom out of the fact that she just came up with a good idea at dinner. She was having dinner with them, meaning that she was, chatting, schmoozing, talking numbers, talking how the pentagram can help them. Now, it's important to remember that, right? This specifically personal branding and agency branding stuff, you forget that the traditional model, you have people that go out and source work, you have people that are going to get work, people that are talking to people, that are doing cold outreach, or they're doing very, very warm outreach with people that they've worked with for years. And it's a bit of nepotism, a bit of who you know, a bit of leverage and a bit of clout. And also, if I've been in this industry a while, I've been to like 20, 25 agencies freelance over the last 8 years whilst I've been freelance and then full time. But people come and go, like accounts directors go over here, project managers go over here, seniors go here, management goes over there. Like any place I walk into, freelanced at a place 2 weeks ago, walked in, I went to the uni with the guy that was there. Like it's a tight-knit community. And that's, maybe I live in London, so maybe that's just specifically London. But I imagine each city or each little micro industry has its own version of that. So, people want to buy from people, and you need to be sort of chatting to people on the internet to go and have a look. And so people can see, also having those conversations in public is quite cool. Sharing your work in public is quite cool. I don't really like sharing work in progress. I think that's quite bad. I like it, keep it private till it's permanent. That's a sort of a core value of mine, because to be honest, maybe I'm just at a different stage in my career that most stuff I work with is a little bit NDA or a little bit, you can't really share it because you do the branding and then they have to go off and build some of the stuff, and those two things don't always align together. So you can't really do it. But yeah, people want to work with people. They want to see behind the scenes. They want to see your process. So you better have it. Next one is, I kind of touched on it previously, but just to open it up, is that everybody, I think now, everybody presumes that you don't know what you're talking about. Or they presume that you are, let's say, 15% inflating what you do know what you're talking about, which is probably true in certain aspects. We've all slightly, put on our CV that we can ride a horse, and we can't ride a horse, insert metaphor or analogy. And I think that again, going back to the thing, there's so much saturation of people just saying that they can do stuff that, I think people make a lot of presumptions. So in order to walk those presumptions back off the line, you got to have a lot of stuff on the internet that makes people be able to like spend time with you organically and build a little bit of trust and be like, oh, okay, this guy knows what he's talking about. This video, if you're still watching, if you got over the 30-second retention hump, then hopefully this is because, you can clearly see that I'm talking about stuff that I've actually experienced and actually know about. And I think it's harder to find that on the internet nowadays. And I think that is where you would need to post a little bit of content, because you want to talk about this, you want to talk about that. So if you're posting stuff or you're sharing behind the scenes, going back to how the sausage is made, you also want to be like, right, well, in this little promise, we were actually tasked with solving this thing. And then this was this thing. And if you're struggling with this thing, then you take that bit out of a big host of services that might cost someone 50K, whatever. And then you sell that one little bit for $5,000. What else have I got in my notes? I'm enjoying this rant. I think the final one is, I guess it's positioning, really. We've mentioned it a little bit in some of these ideas, but I think there's a problem with I don't know what branding is as a done for you service. Delivering that, what really the craft of that is. These big faceless branding agencies, they do really know what they're talking about. But if you're a nimble agency, you also want to work with a nimble person. You want to have somebody come in and work for you and do a little thing. You want to be able to talk to them. Going back to that, you know, people work with people. Like, you should position yourself in the market that you are, like, you are the underdog, right? So look at the agencies that can do what you can't, and then turn that into a skill set. So, or turn that into leverage. The problem is when you have a big name, you buy the big name, but what actually happens is they just give, if you've not got 300K, they give it to the junior, and then they do it as a little sparkle project. And it's great for them to train their employees, and you get a bit of clout, but you're getting a bit of oversee, you know, the creative director might look at it for 10 minutes whilst the other guy does it. Instead, if you went and found a solopreneur, if you went and found somebody who's literally doing kind of short sprint, 30-page guidelines that are really solid brand book, that, you know, really dialed, know what they're talking about, and you spend the same amount of time and money with them, then that's a real person. That's a literal, I would position yourself in the market as that is a person who I can talk to. That's someone tangible I can, you know, work with. So yeah, I think if you're an agency, obviously you've realized now that you've got to make content. I'm not going to tell you that you need to start making content on the internet. I think that is all great. But if you just start talking about your process, if you start talking about what are the promises you offer, if you start talking about like the human aspects, the people aspect of it, the person to person, why that's relevant. And then if you start talking about how what you offer can be personalized in different markets, I think then suddenly you've kind of found a position that is a little bit more exciting than what the big agencies and the big dogs have to offer. And if you are a big agency and a big dog, I would definitely say you need to be more human-based and need to be more people-based. But at the same time, if you're offline and you're going for nice dinners and you're meeting people, then what do I know? I don't run an agency at that scale. So if it's working for you, it's working for you. But from what I've seen, I think there's a couple. That model of posting the case study every month and a little check-in of what are the other ones, like summer party, Christmas party, when you get a new designer and when somebody leaves, like out of date.